Hi, brothers and sisters. This is Neil Jepson. I am getting ready for a lesson like you are, and it seems like that's always a part of what we're doing, right? I have students like you do, and many of them are settling into the routine of having me as a teacher. But I've also visited lots of seminary classes, and I've seen that they're also settling into the routine of daily seminary. So I have a suggestion that I'd like you to just try. Let's look at the lesson plan for Joel together. I see here's a little bit of context, which is easy to give to your students. So I'd provide that. And then the lesson has this really great story from Sister Holland. And she says this: recently we experienced the worst windstorm in Utah for several decades. Just as I was hearing the news reports of semi-trucks, 20 of them, blown down over on the roadside, I looked over my lovely back window down toward our creek and saw one of our large trees go down with a crash. For a moment, I confess, I was truly fearful. It was very early in the morning, and Jeff was just leaving for the office. I said to him, "Do you think this is the end? Is it all over or about to be?" So in order for us to have rich discussions in the classroom, especially as students have kind of settled in and they've started to become used to, okay, this student is going to overly participate or participate too much, and you're having to constantly control that hand that's always going up for every single question, or in some cases, you may not be getting any responses at all from your students. Well, if that's the case, that's just as dangerous. And so you and me have to do something that I've called organizing the discussion. There's probably some other name for it. But this is what I would like you to try. When you come across discussion questions like this, don't always just ask them out to the class. Do something like this. Hey, Jack, I'm going to ask you a question about that experience that Sister Holland just had. And Jack, after I hear from you, I'm going to hear from Jill. Jill, I would like you to answer the same question that I'm going to ask Jack. After I hear from Jack and then Jill, I'd like Tom to be able to share something. Now, Tom, I don't know exactly what you're going to say, but I just want you to add to what Jack said and then what Jill says, and then just kind of add to what they have to say. So, Jack, Jill, you ready? Here's the first question. How do you feel about the signs and events that will accompany the second coming? Jack, you go first. Oh, Jack, you're not ready? Oh, okay. Jill, are you ready? Yeah? Okay. Jill, you go ahead, and then Jack will come back to you, and then we'll hear from Tom. Tom, you just add to it. Again, here's the question. How do you feel about the signs and events that will accompany the second coming? Jack. Now, what that's done is it's controlled the conversation a little bit and allowed us to not be so always waiting for the same person to participate or just experience silence. It's also kind of highlighted some people that perhaps are not participating the way that we want them to, or we know they can give more, but they're a little shy about doing it, or they're concerned about being the person that overly participates, and so they've stopped participating kind of. When you and me organize the conversation, we have such a better experience. Let's say that we hear from Jack, and then we hear from Jill, and then Tom gives some other response that's pretty good, and then we just say this: okay, I'm going to ask one more question. The next question was, what stood out to you about Sister Holland's experience or something? I don't remember what it was. But then I would say something like this: okay, thank you, you three. I'm going to continue to hear from several of you, but I'd like you to just think about the answer to this question. How do you feel about the Lord's second coming? Now, I'm not going to ask you to respond right now, but I'm going to call on three of you in just a second. So please, everybody, be thinking about that question, and we're going to look at this next part of Sister Holland's story, and then I'm going to come back to that same question and call on three of you. Do you get what I'm saying? So we're kind of organizing the discussion instead of just always letting it be so organic. This will do a lot for teenagers, and I think will provide a little bit more structure in your classroom. Will you give it a shot? Thanks, guys.